webcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, traders. Can you hear me and see my screen? If you could just type yes in the questions, and we can get started. Okay, all right, great. Thanks, guys. Okay, sorry about that. It's just following up with something else here for just a moment. All right, so let's take a look and see what's going on here in the market and go through some of the platform details. Okay, so welcome to the webinar. This is Bruce at Bookmap. Risk disclaimer: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. For those of you who are new here, you can find more information about Bookmap at bookmap.com. And the software comes with education. Okay, there's an education course. It's a 4-part course. It goes through some of the basic market mechanics on through to advanced concepts. And then immediately following this webinar, you will also get access to the advanced order flow webinars, where we look at the live market and anticipate future price movement based on what we see in our analysis, okay, using Bookmap. So you can learn about Bookmap and then see it in the live markets. Okay, so that's the concept there. Let's take a quick look at bookmap.com and scroll down here. Intro video, information here about Bookmap if you want more of that. And then let's stop here at connectivity. So let me define what Bookmap is first. We are a visualization software financial trading platform. Okay, we're a platform, we're not a data provider. Okay, so you will need to provide data for futures and US equities. Okay, actually you will get free access for digital currencies through the GDAX exchange. Okay, only GDAX exchange, which is a great exchange. There's all sorts of liquidity in there for those digital currencies like Bitcoin. Anyway, so you can see that all the data providers that we support here, and you can see that there's a few platforms in here. Okay, we connect to NinjaTrader, TTX Trader Pro, and Interactive Brokers Traders Workstation via the API of these 3 platforms. But we are a platform. So we recommend just connecting directly to CQG, Rhythmic, Gain, IQ Feed, Transact, or Dev Experts. Okay, now this Dev Experts here is an excellent feed. Let me describe it a bit more. I'm going to scroll up a bit. It's for this NASDAQ total view and NASDAQ last sale. Okay, it's going to get even better in the next month or so. It's going to include even more data providers for US equities. Okay, it's very low latency, and it also has full depth of market, and this is a tremendous advantage for those of you trading equities. All right. Let's scroll down a bit further and go through some of the pricing and the packages you can subscribe yearly or monthly. And let's take a look here. The monthly here, there's digital and there is global. All right, now the digital here, there's a free version. It's live exchange connection to the GDAX exchange for only one digital currency though. Okay, you also get a US equity delayed feed though. Yeah, so you can really take a look at that digital currency and see if this is something that works for you. It's free. It comes with basic education and only limited support. Okay, you can't record or anything like that with your data. The Digital Plus version, you can record and you can replay your data. You get up to 20 different digital currencies. There's no data feed cost, and you also are able to trade from the Bookmap chart. Okay, you also get the advanced education and access to those live advanced order flow webinars. Okay, now the digital or the global version, just to describe what global is, it means that it is for everything here. So you get all of everything in digital plus, and then you also have the ability to connect to the futures and the U.S. equities. Right? You will need to provide the data for those, but you get the ability to connect, and you also, of course, get full support and advanced education. The Global Plus, all it does is include these add-on indicators. Okay, one is the ability to trade right from the Bookmap chart. It's a huge advantage because you have the liquidity heat map right in front of you. So you can manage your trades accordingly. Entries, you can front run high liquidity. Stops, you can place behind high liquidity. Okay, you can also see some of these proprietary indicators that we put together that look specifically at order flow phenomena. And we start to identify larger players, okay? Large lot tracker, those are larger players that are going to be holding the majority of liquidity at certain price levels. That's a nice advantage, as well as the iceberg detectors start to understand where traders are placing their iceberg orders because they don't want to show their high liquidity in the limit order book. Okay, there's correlation tracker as well and some imbalance indicators. All right. Okay, so for those of you who are new and new to futures or equities, you can get, well, I don't know about the equities here. Let's click on this and see. I haven't clicked on it for a while. Yeah, no, there's no U.S. equities free feed, but you can get like a 2-week trial with many of these here. Okay, Stage 5 brokerage, they offer, I think, all of these. So you might want to contact them or contact other brokers or Rhythmic, IQ Feed, or CQG directly and see if you can get like a 2-week trial of data and see Bookmap without the cost of the data. Okay, you want to see a breakdown of all the different features and components. You can click here. And if you have any questions, you can visit our FAQ section. All right, social media. Follow us at Bookmap _pro. And you can see here, for example, a new tweet we just put out this morning, several new tweets, in fact. I think you'd be interested in a lot of these. One about understanding larger players, how they spoof and test the market and how they accumulate positions with small orders. Interesting, very short video here. It's about 2.5 minutes long. And then all of these other images here that were just posted this morning about understanding liquidity in the heat map. Okay, and FOMC statement here. You can see how, look at this dark area here, right? Well, we can see this all the time, especially during the economic releases or a geopolitical event. Sometimes you'll see these dark areas of liquidity here. They're pulling liquidity because of risk. And sometimes you might see that during a geopolitical event and you wonder what's going on here. Well, you might want to pull your trades due to volatility and uncertainty. Anyway, that's Twitter, Facebook, or not Facebook. We do have a Facebook page. The YouTube page, though, I need to go over some of the videos on the home page. Some intro videos here. Features and components playlist here. You can click on that. And then these order flow video snippets, you can click on this and view all of these videos here. There are several. These videos are concise and short, and they go over order flow phenomena that is visualized by Bookmap. Okay, so these kinds of concepts here, this is really a kind of a concentrated video on that concept of what we go over in the advanced order flow webinars in detail. Okay, so this is kind of the basic education that you guys get. But you want to understand more about some of these things. We go over these in detail. You can ask all sorts of questions in the advanced order flow webinar. Okay, all right, let's take a look at Bookmap and see what's going on. All right, well, there's some geopolitical tensions as well. Let's see here, that's looking at Apple. We don't want to look at Apple. I want to look at the S&P E-mini here. And let's zoom out a bit. Okay. Okay, yeah, today is a good day for the S&P. We see some good volatility here. All right, well, you can see the overnight session here, okay, and then at or before 9 o'clock here, pretty steep drop. This might be some of those trade war tensions, etc. And then here you can see the 9:30 open. Okay, let me zoom vertically a little bit, and you can always see this. Look at the tremendous volume that always picks up here in the S&P. It's pretty amazing to see. And it's been a lot of back and forth though. All right, but this is one of the setups I'm going to go over. We see this all the time, and this is a really good example of it on a much higher time frame. Okay, so the overall concept here, well, this is, and we need to explain this in terms of order flow. Okay, and what we're looking at here is a pretty steep drop with a lot of volume. You can see these big red dots pulling this market down. Okay, so it's aggressive market sell orders. They're hitting the bid, driving price lower, taking liquidity. And then the open, nice little trap here, and we kind of rotate back and forth a few times. But where do we go? We test where we drop from up here. Okay, you're going to see this on all sorts of time frames, and this is a very good visual one on a much higher time frame. Okay, look at this huge hunk of liquidity up here. Okay, and a lot of it was pulled, but a lot of it started to, we'll take a look here, and we're going to see that it got filled in some of these areas, and we want to understand, these players at these levels. This is the advantage you're going to get with Bookmap. Okay, because this is where we dropped. We come back and we tested. We can see that sellers are engaged here, and we can see the result. Okay, and it looks like we're about to test the swing low here. Okay, and then maybe we'll see continuation to the downside as well. Okay, so just get all of these guys upside down, have them cover, but the overall trend still remains to the downside here. All right, that's just the bigger picture stuff, and I want to show this because a lot of people think that Bookmap is only utilized on for scalping a few ticks or a few points, and it's just not true. And the reason being that it's not true is because you can zoom out and you can still see all of the liquidity there. There it is. Look, here they are on the offer, and you can see them up here at 2,700, the figure. It's always the case at the figure, but and then look at where they are now. Okay, we'll see if these guys are for real though. If it's fake or real liquidity down here, but looks pretty real. They're really bidding it up in some of these areas here. Okay, so anyway, we'll take a look here. Before I get to that, we're going through things rather quickly here for you new guys. Let's step back here and let's define what's going on here in Bookmap. What are you looking at? Okay, this looks like a lot of data and it looks very confusing. It's really not, and you'll get accustomed to it very quickly. Okay, what it is a very clear and objective view of the market. There's only 3 elements on this chart. One is the best bid and offer, historical best bid and offer. Okay, and let me show that here. Okay, well, I'll show it here in just a second here, but then define the 3 elements here. The second element here that you see are these dots. Okay, this is the volume that traded on that historical best bid and offer. Okay, and that third element is the heat map, and I keep referring to these areas here where we see sellers on the offer and sellers on the bid. Well, what am I talking about? This is your dome. It's just a recording of the dome. Okay, it's the liquidity at these levels recorded and then plotted onto the chart. Okay, so price didn't trade up here, not until it got up here, and you see the transactions. But this is where they were bidding. Or, this is where they were offering. Okay, and they stayed in this book in some of these areas here. We'll get in here and we'll definitely take a look and see if they got filled or not. Okay, so here we are going through down, testing the low here, and I'm actually looking for this to continue to the downside. Might get a little brief pullback, and where to where? We'll take a quick look here. to right here. Okay, and why would I do that? It's the same setup as this on a higher time frame here, returning back to where we just broke from. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that, and let me continue on with the demo, and we'll get back to this here. But these three elements, let's break it down. Okay, and let's just show a candlestick chart here to very simply display what we're looking at. Okay, and let's take off everything else. Okay, I'll leave the volume subchart on. Okay, and let's see, this is a 5-minute chart. Yes. Okay, all right, so open, high, low, and close. We're all familiar with candlestick chart and understanding, buying pressure, wicks, bodies, speed of candles, etc. But there's a real problem here with the candlestick chart, and there's actually a real problem with most of the charts out there, like over 90% of the charts. And what it is they're showing aggregated data. Okay, now it's pretty a nice thing to see aggregated data, because then you can zoom out. But there's all sorts of details here that we just don't see in the chart. And the reason being is that because it just is aggregated within a 5-minute period or whatever period, right? It could be a volume period. It could be a time period. It could be a bar rotation period. It's still aggregated. Okay? And this is really a disadvantage because you're not getting the full picture. Okay? There's going to be all sorts of microstructural areas in here that give us a lot of insight to what's going on with price and traders. Okay? And then we want to see the volume, though, precisely where it traded within those areas. It gives us the story to who's in control. Okay? And then the third element is we just don't see any of the bidding or offering here whatsoever. Okay? Because you might see areas of tremendous volume, but if they're on the bid or offer with tremendous liquidity, they may overpower those guys, and that's the real story. Okay, it's the lack of the appetite for those aggressive buyers or sellers to take on those really high areas of liquidity. And a lot of times that's where your footprint chart will lie, because you'll look at a footprint chart and it shows the volume very precisely. It shows it with an aggregated period, but that's another issue. But it's not showing you where they're bidding and offering. You just don't get that. Okay, so let's start off by just showing historical best bid and offer. Okay, and the advantage here of seeing this. All right. Well, the advantage here is let's zoom into some of these areas here. All right, and what we can see now is start to see and understand some microstructural areas. All right, so that that concept I spoke of earlier about returning back to where we broke from, well, here it is again on a microstructural level. Okay, look at the swings here. Okay, and all it is historical best bid and offer. That's it. So there's no aggregation whatsoever. This candle here, let's zoom in here. Okay, this candle right here, what is it showing us? Well, it's showing us that between this period and this period here, okay, we have kind of this doji here, right? Or I don't, whatever it's called. It's not a shooting star. It's the opposite of it. What occurred? Well, it looks like actually you may consider being a buyer here. That there was some buying pressure that came in. Well, actually, look at the full picture. Look at this little microstructural area right here, for example. Okay, and look how we drop down below it, and we come back to test where we dropped from. Okay, and it was not sustained whatsoever. Like, we accepted lower, and it continued to accept lower. Okay, and we see the same phenomena yet again right here. Okay, we drop down below here, and we come back and test right here again where we dropped from. Okay, it actually happened again right in here with this little microstructure right here. Drop, retest, right back to it. Can you guys see that? Okay, so we're understanding all of these little areas here very, very precisely what's going on. The candlestick chart doesn't really show any of that. You just can't see it, right? So there's all sorts of strategies that you can play within this. And we're just looking at one element here in the Bookmap chart, and that's historical best bid and offer. Okay, now let's turn on the volume though to see who's winning the battles here in some of these areas. Okay, so you know, we're trending down a bit. We go sideways here for a bit. Well, here are the sellers. Okay, and let's zoom in here. Oops, it's maybe a little much. Okay, and let's bring up that dot size a bit more. Okay, and so, you know, you can see that. Why are we going sideways here? Well, it's because, you know, there's sellers down here, but there's clusters of buying up here as well. Okay, but the sellers take control right here. Okay, they swept the book lower. This is what we go over in part 1 of the education, is a book sweep. Understanding a book sweep is critical, and understanding who's in control at some of those areas. Okay, now it's a good, you know, and we accepted down in this little microstructure down here for a bit. Okay, but the buyers they stepped right back in here, and they're fighting. You know, there's a battle going on here. They're trying to get it up above this area here where we broke from. And let's zoom in a little bit more, and let's start to understand exactly what happened here. Okay, well, you know, it looks pretty good. The buyers are stepping in, trying to pull this up. And then what happened up in here? Okay, look at the volume on the best offer. Okay, these are the aggressive market buyers here, these dots here. Okay, so let's make them a little bit bigger here and show you precisely these two elements and what's going on up here in these areas. Okay, number one is well, we're not trading they were trading up here pretty nicely. It looked pretty good, all right? That we may try to break to the upside here. Okay, but the sellers, we started to kind of taper off here. Some selling came in, and we accepted down here at this area. We retested this 87 and a half right here again, and we had very little buying. Okay, we rotate lower, and we're actually finding, you know, the market is kind of complacent down here in this area here. We come back up and rotate back up, and they're trying. You know, there's just not enough buying pressure. Okay, look at this buying here compared to over here. It's not enough to sweep this book higher. Okay, at this point here, the sellers start to read this. They come in, and now they're starting to hit the bid. Okay, the sellers are starting to take control. Okay, still a bit of a back and forth. The buyers try to take control again. Okay, and sellers come right back in. Okay, and then now look at the overall here of what we're looking at. Okay, note how they swept it down lower with quite a bit of selling here. Okay, they really picked it up. Okay, this is giving us a lot of insight here. Who's in control? Okay, we get the retest back up in here, but there's just not enough buying. Okay, not enough. Okay, and sellers remain in control, and we continue lower. Right, so you know, it's a bit back and forth here. I mean, you can see some of the volume dots, and you can see that there is some buying in there, but this is sellers in control. You know, and then here's your really nice break in your sweep lower here. Okay. So, you know, we end up getting down here to this area, and the sellers really they sweep the book lower. Right. So, you know, some of these areas here that we're looking at, and when I zoomed in, I just want to show you guys, you know, precisely what you're looking at, because we can do that. A Bookmap shows every single market event. We don't aggregate it. Okay. Here's your market buy here with the green dot. They cross the spread. They take liquidity off of the best offer. Okay. The green line is the best bid, and these red dots are aggressive market sell orders that hit the bid and take liquidity off of the best bid. Now let's zoom into this big dot though, okay? And you can see that we're showing you every single market event, okay? Here it is, okay? We're down at microsecond level. We can continue on to nanosecond level. These are billions of seconds, okay? We're showing every single market event. This was one trade event for a volume of 8. okay? We are sure of that, right? It's not aggregated. Now, as I zoom back out though, look what we do. We compress this timeline into a bigger dot, and we're showing you the overall, and we know precisely what traded here, okay? We have the date, the time, what was on the ask, and then the volume here. All right, the volume was for 35. Okay, one of those trade events was for 8. Right now, that's what we're showing in terms of volume, and then sometimes you see these pie displays. Okay, this was for 139 of volume, but the overall here, about 3/4 of this is aggressive selling. Okay, because that's what so many events took place here. Flurries of events. I mean, these trades, a blink of an eye is really slow in the HFT environment. So we need to show this in terms of the overall, because we don't trade at those levels. We need to understand what happened here. Well, here is a big flurry of events. The sellers were about 3/4 of that big event that took place here. Okay. So that's what we're showing, and we haven't even gotten to the heat map yet. Okay, but you can see though some of these advantages here, and the advantages being that it's not aggregated, so we can see the speed of these things that take place. You know exactly how it unfolded in the market. We can also see within those microstructures, we can see you know who's in control, and that's going to be all kind of diffused, or what's the right word? You know, to be oh, I can't think of it. It's going to be watered down so that you're not going to see it, because it's going to be aggregated within a time period. Okay, whereas here, just because historical best bid and offer is recorded, you can see everything. All right, so anyway, we continue to the downside here. As you can see, that was the overall direction that we were looking at. Let's add the heat map on here. Okay, so that's the third element. Okay, and what we're looking at here in the heat map is very simple. Let's zoom into the current market, and let's take off our candlestick chart. And you know what, I think you know, usually we do this for Friday, but I'm going to give you guys a bonus here today, because I took some time here to explain some of these things. You know, I'm going to give you access to the advanced order flow webinar for today and tomorrow. Okay, we usually give it out for Friday, just Friday alone, so you guys can get a feel for it. But since I went through this explanation here in such detail, you guys are pretty nicely set up to understand a little more of the advanced now. So I'm going to give that link to you as well. Okay, so there it is. So you can use that for today and tomorrow. All right, so just click on that and register. Okay, so the heat map. Well, it's time to go, basically. But we take the liquidity here in the dome. This is the dome and Bookmap. Okay, these areas of high liquidity here, or any liquidity. Okay, these are sellers lined up here to provide liquidity, waiting to get filled at these prices where they want to deal, and they're on the bid down here. Now, and then in here is the current market. This is your best bid and offer, and you can see that we just take graphical representation of these numeric values. Like we just saw high liquidity come in, and then they pulled it. And that's what this looks like. It was just recorded here. That's all we're showing here. Okay? But we can really gain a lot of insight when we start to zoom out. This allows us to use the dome on much higher time frames. Okay, so this is quite a nice advantage, because now you can see their intent to trade in the auction. Okay, and we're going to look at absorption, exhaustion, and all sorts of stuff here. So let's call it a day here. And if you guys have time, then you have the link there. to go view the advanced order flow webinar.